Okay. How about pride and deception for a topic? It's probably most of what you'll hear from me. I'm fascinated with how pride and self-deception works, and I'm sitting very slowly because my back is out today. It's been out. So when I get up to cut this video, I have a trusty walking stick over here that's probably going to have to help me get up, and I may wince a few times during the video. In the interim, and I want to go slow so I don't overwhelm anyone. There's two people I'd like to start to mention, to appreciate, and maybe I can do more. Pride is presumption, the presumptuous pride, when you think you know what it's all about. I used to say, maybe to my head, I don't know if I've ever said it to a human being, is that maybe I've said it in my silent dialogues when people were speaking to me who were prideful, is that, you know, just because it doesn't happen in your backyard doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And I'm speaking to my own heart too, because I get taught lessons all the time. I like being taught lessons. They're hard, but the gains, if you're still alive, are, what is the word? Immeasurable, innumerable. I think you know the word I'm trying to find, or I'm trying to say. I deal a lot with people in the northern parts of America. That's where I grew up. Closer to Detroit when I was a kid, and people's boundary circles, their boundary perimeters are tighter, or they're more enforced. Where there's more people than it is where it's less populated in the north, the trees and stuff, where I like it. And so, what was that, the Rush song? I can't pretend a stranger is a long-awaited friend. Something like that. And it's, you know, people watch Northern Exposure, things like that. Where, I mean, if you don't see anybody for a long, long time, you're grateful to see them. And how my mind works, not being able to take people for granted, and remembering things people said, remembering who they were, trying to appreciate them, maybe praying for them and stuff. I get taken wrong all the time. I try to remember something. Who does this guy think he is, that thinks he's my best friend all of a sudden, and they don't even remember who I was. And it's so hard for me in life to so I just kind of bear some kind of label or something that they put in their head. It's presumption is what it is. They presume that I'm like everyone else, and like I said, I'm speaking to my own heart here too. When I used to work out regularly at a gym and run regularly, like at a track or a civic center where many other people run, you have to be friendly. You have to wear a little bit of politeness at all times. You have to be on guard. You know, of course you come across people that don't deserve it, and some people that deserve to be offended. Um, uh, and you don't want to come across too friendly either, because you push people away in that regard. Thinking of more people I'd like to share in this while I can, when I can. So, you know, a lot of the people that I work out with at the gym and stuff like that, or at the track, I mean, some of these people are stroke victims. And every morning they get up and they'll drive their golf cart down to the Civic Center, and they'll drag 1 foot around a mile track with a couple hills in it, a couple dips in it, every day, you know. And you go by and you're coming by to pass, you know, you're running up behind them like some basketball player or something, and you go by and morning, how you doing? And they, good morning! Because they can't quite control their motor skills, but they can control it probably a lot better than the people that have never had a stroke, I'll tell you that. And so you don't know what you're coming across, you don't know what you're hearing, and you don't know what's coming through the door, you know. So Yeshua in the book of Isaiah said that he didn't merely judge. It was prophesied that he won't merely judge by what he sees. And that's what made him such a great man. The kind of men that we should be like. And so I take my friends sometimes to the Civic Center, you know, and they don't know the rules of the etiquette and stuff, the etiquette rules and stuff. Not that I care, it's like maybe I can learn from them, you know. So they'll go out, they'll go back to the track and they'll run on their own, and you know, they'll tell me, I went by these girls and I waved at them, and then went around again and I waved at them again, and then I lost them, and it was like, oh, you waved at them again? Oh, that's what you did. You're too friendly. I mean, you go around that thing 6-10 times sometimes, and it's, you know, not always a conversation. Some people don't want to be bothered. I typically don't want to be bothered. I know that if I wore sunglasses, which I don't anymore, I haven't, is that people are very intimidated. They do the shifty eye stuff. Because they don't know what I'm looking at and stuff, you know. And I don't want to be unreal, but I also don't want to be curt, and I don't want to be crass in all situations. I do, you know, do unto others as you would have done to you, and I would suppose that they would expect me just to be real, you know. When I was younger and more phony, I was less, I couldn't get around as well. I couldn't, I didn't have as many social graces as I do just being real, and that means just sometimes not smiling, because sometimes there aren't things to smile about, and sometimes not praising people, and sometimes not thanking people that don't deserve it. And sometimes it's easier, and it's easier for them to accept because they know I'm not faking it, you know, if I'm if my countenance is fallen, but if I'm at least not trying to butter anybody up or kiss anybody's butt or whatever. But I'm running up the track one night, and there's walkers opposing me, and I'm running this way. It's a mile track. And I'm running around, and the woman comes by, and she's walking with a gentleman, long, kind of darkish red hair, looked like a feisty girl at one time. Maybe she says, "Keep up the good work," you know, very like a flag, very loud, you know, face. "Thank you." And came around the track again, met up again. "Keep it up, you're doing a good job." And I was like, okay, now it's getting a little loud, you know, now, you know, I need my privacy, you know, now, you know, I am a sensitive kind of, I am a Sensitive? Yeah, sensitive. I heard the first one, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but I had to think, you know, some of the people that I go to the gym with, I talk to, like in the sauna and stuff, or like, say it's a girl that she brought the big guy in that's got the scar down his chest, and she moved up here because he had a heart attack and he had to have his chest split open and have it operated on, and all she wants him to be is healthy, and she's, you know, probably paying for his gym membership, and she's coaxing him into it. Of course you can't make other people healthy. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Is that what they say? And so, you know, I have to be careful who I'm coming across because I don't know. And I think, you know, this woman, she could have been in the ICU last week, and she's so grateful to be alive that she sees somebody else doing what she wished she was doing. Maybe other people see that in me. That she has to praise it, you know? So what am I going to do? Hey, don't talk to me. That's my privacy spot. No, you're getting too close. So I have to think, and I had to think about it for a long time. This was years and years and years ago. And I have to remember to be merciful when I'm in situations where I don't know what's going on. I can't judge where she came from. I don't know who she is. I don't know who sent her. I don't know where she's going. It's not my job. It's certainly not my job to be phony and friendly and pretend I don't understand what's going on either. Understanding it is probably the loving thing that I could possibly do for her. And there's a situation, say, I drive a big heavy Suburban. It's a houseboat, you know. And when you're driving in 4 lanes or 2 lanes, you can't just, you know, sneak over in the other lane. You've got to, you know, radio headquarters and everything, make sure that you've got to go, and then signal and, you know, mirror over the shoulder and go and all that, and get over and hope you didn't crush anybody. And so you learn to be merciful when you're in a bigger vehicle like that. I was in a very small vehicle before I got in it, and typically who drives Suburbans are women. That's what the market is after for Suburbans, because they're the ones that buy them. The Suburban that I was fortunate to get in, a woman and her kids, they cleaned it out on the spot at the time that I was ready to buy it, and it was a mess inside and out. But you know, so lovers drive Suburbans. You have to be only a lover could drive a Suburban. Totally different take on the road, as if that really matters. But it's interesting, and it's worth understanding. But you have to be merciful, and when you're in a big heavy truck or a bus or something like that, you have to give yourself a lot of braking distance between you and the person in front of you. And people always cut in and everything. You got to increase the braking distance. They cut in, you have to increase the braking distance. You have to be merciful. You have to keep making sacrifices and backing off. The woman in the shopping center that's got, you know, $200, $300 worth of groceries in a cart. She can barely turn it. She's got 3 kids hanging off of it, you know. She's happy as hell. She is merciful. She's like, go, you know, you're in buying chips, you're in, you know, buying booze, you're in, you know, getting eggs, you know, go, old people go. I'm loaded, you know, because they're lovers. That's why they have all the kids. That's why they have the food. That's beautiful. So one day I've got some little squirt driving by. She comes by in a little blue thing. It's and she, you know, totally invaded my my braking distance that I so carefully engaged or enforced. And I want to be angry at her. I want to go, man, how could you be so ignorant? And imagine if I get up to the light, how could you be so ignorant? You pull in front of me like that, you know. But you have to understand, this young girl, that that she's probably never driven a heavy vehicle and doesn't realize that she just sees a space open and she's going to take it. That doesn't make it right for everybody to be greedy. It's not what I'm saying, but she doesn't realize, I mean, not everyone's just discourteous. She doesn't realize that houseboat back there, that guy might get pissed if I pull in front of him because she's never driven a houseboat and she doesn't know what it takes to slow one down, you know? So, you know, you don't always know what's coming through the door. Just because it doesn't happen in your backyard doesn't mean it isn't real. And it's probably not a good place to share that one. I'm going to have to adjust my back just a little bit, and I'm afraid to, actually. So, if I can reach this far. Very grateful for that. But it's Shabbat. I got my errands done before like 12:30. I'm usually up by 5 or so. And today with a real bad back issue that's probably going to need help. And I got chili in the crock pot. I got some real nice bread with some real butter. For Shabbat, I don't have to work anymore. It's all done. The heck with it. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. It's one of those days I don't have to study. I don't have to collect. I don't have to, you know. I can just, I'm still working. But it's the working that doesn't matter quite as much. And like when I get up to turn this video off, I don't have time to edit the videos and things like that. I've got other things I have to do, so please bear with me. So that's pride. That's resisting pride, or resisting pride is humility. So I guess it was actually judging that I'm saying. Presumption is the word that would have been a killer against, you know, the people that may have, you know, medical conditions or something like that, or just don't know. How do you condemn someone when they don't know something? Imagine how many people do that to their animals, you know, their cats and their dogs. How stupid could you be not to, you know? And I am going too fast. Along the lines of self-deception, or in that direction, there was a woman, I don't know how far I can get into this, but I lived with her, not with her in an apartment complex. She was my neighbor in an apartment complex. She was like kitty corner to me. She was up here and I was down here. And it was a fairly decent complex. The owner was a widow. She'd been widowed by, she was a widow to a landlord that he contracted a rare form of cancer and chose not to fight it. I'm not going to get into all of it. But it was, considering the places that I've rented, it was stable, at least structurally, while I was there. Physically, structurally. And so, there was a woman there that, you know, she was paid or maybe deducted rent or whatever to take care of some things there, flowers, stuff like that, gardening things, looked after things, posted notes up, you know, she was on top of stuff, and sometimes she went a little too far, and she pissed a lot of people off. I always got along with her, maybe because I'm that way. but she'd been making complaints about people through the years that she'd been there before I got there. Apparently, the apartment above me, there was partying going on one time that this woman called the landlord in the middle of the night and said, "These people are tearing this apartment down," and she was reprimanded for calling the landlord in the middle of the night. And then I started seeing the same kind of thing. The landlord didn't like enforcing stuff on other people. She wasn't very good at it, though she was a paralegal, and apparently sometimes she would like flaunt that as a power trip. Anyway, this woman's complaints are falling on deaf ears all the time, right? So what happens is they get a complaint, then the landlord makes maybe a faint suggestion to the other tenants, which isn't tough enough, and the other tenants, what they do is they retaliate against the tenant that made the complaint. It's a very sad. I get myself into that. I've got into that situation often because the landlord wasn't tough enough and they didn't take the complaint seriously. This woman said, people call me a chronic complainer. She says it's because I have a chronic complaint, and I understand exactly what she's talking about. So, what happens when I'm yelling? What happens when people get in these situations and they start taking the law into their own hands? If the law isn't going to take them seriously, then they take the law into their own hands, and then they do something a little socially inappropriate, and then they say, "Ha, see it? They're socially inappropriate. They did something. They're screwy. We knew it about them." And they use that. It's a blame shifting technique. Kind of takes a few steps to get there. Napoleon said that men are what you want them to be. It's a sick military ploy, and he was into power over stuff and people, if you like that. And now I started making the same complaints that this woman was to this landlord, and the same thing was happening to me. And this other tenant, she started drinking heavy and stuff, and anytime that I talked to her, everything was stable. I understood her. No problems with her whatsoever. And she started getting bombed and stuff. She lives upstairs, got to climb the outside balcony stairs to get up. And neighbors start coming over. They want to say bad things about her. To try to justify their poor behavior. And my complaints are falling on deaf ears too, so I made a complaint to the landlord, and I had it witnessed to people that she didn't want me to, she didn't want anyone to, she didn't, would prefer that no one ever knew about. And I flipped the lid. And I told her something that I read one time, I think it was from M. Scott Peck, that said, curiously, if you continue to treat people like dangerous madmen, curiously they will become dangerous madmen. It's the same thing that Napoleon was doing, saying. I experience it all the time, every day, yesterday, today. And and I found another character that I'd like to add, if I may, if I can. So maybe help me to focus on this one I'm focusing on. So this woman, she's taking matters into her own hands. So when 3 a.m. she's stomping up and down across the floor to get a message across because no one else will take her seriously. Well, they're trying to lock her up, okay? And so I set a meeting with me and the landlord and a witness. The landlord came, didn't have a choice, tried turning the tables, like, sit down at my table and ask me what I wanted. She said she would like to sit down and talk with me, and when she did arrive, she tried turning the tables that fast and tried sticking me to a contract that was bogus. Um, but I told her, this is what you're doing to this woman, and she's turning ugly because these complaints are falling on deaf ears, and you're making her out to be some mentally ill case or something, and I know I'm going to be next. And she put her head down at that point, and it was obvious to me and all of us, that she was trying to get away with that. It's wicked to the core. So I moved out of there against, the bogus contract. And I tried to stay in touch with this woman, and I tried to help the woman. And apparently supposedly other neighbors had complained that she'd been bombed and she'd been staggering around, and they made complaints to the landlord. So the landlord copied my style of handling my complaint to her with this woman unsuccessfully. This woman is smart. She's no fool. She's college educated, going to college, and she's like in her 40s and 50s. Not saying that that's a bad thing. It's a great thing for her academic level. Excellent. She's into books, old books, and so what this woman did to justify her staggering around, which is really kind of necessitated by nobody taking her seriously, making it worse. I'm not saying that they've made her a drunk, but they definitely made it worse. And I was surprised that things didn't get any more hairy than they did. Maybe they did, I don't know. I moved away. And apparently she went to the doctors to be prescribed a walker. So anytime anybody accused her of being drunk, well, she has a balancing issue, okay? And so, that the landlord and her son are just laughing at her and stuff like that. It shows kind of their mentality. The law offices of Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. And so this woman kind of had to do that. So I don't really blame her in what she did there too. She was doing everything she could. She was just a little woman in her 50s on her own. Mother's overseas somewhere, another country. And so I moved out of town. I came back, and the complex was gone. It was sold and eliminated. Thank God. And the woman I saw one time without the walker, and then I saw her downtown with the walker bombed years later, and I thought, oh, how sad that she has to hang on to that deception. Because what happened is, just because she's told a couple people that she needs a walker to get around when she's bombed to justify that, is she told enough people that she couldn't get out of the lie. And when she needs a fifth of vodka or something, people probably have to remind her, hey, you forgot your walker. I used to see my Aunt Jenny when any of us she'd be suspicious of anyone of us stealing her booze or anything. She didn't need her walker to find out how many cans of beer were out in the front porch at that point, But it's very sad. And there was Dave Hunt from the Berean Call. He had a degree in mathematics, and he took that degree to the Bible. And I love it when people do that. So he's really good at it as a preacher, as a teacher. And he and his wife, in the retirement, they opened a convalescent home, thinking he could lead people to Elohim in their dying hours and their dying days and stuff. And he said he learned one thing about delusion, self-delusion, is people stick with it. And, you know, go talk to Charles Manson, you know. Go talk to the people that are in the prison graveyards where the families haven't come even back to claim their bodies. They didn't get it. They're not going to get it. And I have to remember, okay, and maybe this is a good closer. There was a man in a Meijer store one time, you know, box stores, everything, they've got policies where, you know, they have to hire people that are, you know, disabled and stuff like that. They can't discriminate against people. So they've got, you know, they've got a guy in there that, you know, doesn't walk real good, doesn't talk real good, you know, is kind of pimple-faced, and, you know, he's got, you know, shaggy stuff going on his chin and stuff, and, you know, he's got the pimply-faced glasses and stuff like that. I hope I'm not being too, you know, I don't mean to be ridiculing him, but I'm trying to give you an idea of what he looked like. He, not somebody that could run a register, maybe somebody that could walk around and be told what to do or something and get paid for it, which is good, you know, he needs a job too. But the bad thing is the type of people that he has to work with. Sometimes there are a bunch of clowns in these places, these box stores, a bunch of clowns, a bunch of characters. And one day I'm walking, you know, people are intimidated by me wherever I go because I'm silent, and I walk up and people shut up all the time, you know, and I don't incur that. I mean for that to happen, but it's just my demeanor. It's just the reception I get from people most of the time. This is normal. So I'm walking up to a register. There's a woman there that can run a register, and there's a man there, and he's talking about something a little off color about what happens when you eat certain types of foods. And the woman was, you know, agreeing with him too, just kind of, yeah, you know, condescending. That's what happens when you eat these kinds of foods. You don't want to do this, you know. And I could just see the brain cells, just my brain cells. It was just a digression of just morality. And they shut up as soon as I was walking up to the register. Not that I wanted them to or anything, but certainly wasn't going to join in that conversation. And I had to walk away. You know, when I was studying the Bible at the time, I was going home, and I was studying Bible with men in their 60s and 70s that studied the Word sometimes 12 hours a day. They'd go from teacher to teacher, just anybody that would give them some time. And these men set out to go in churches and teach them the truth. You know, only these other churches would just kick them out if that's what they found. These men were so passionate. These men came from lives, you know, where they saw Amazing Grace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. So, I mean, nobody can sing that but somebody who's been a wretch. Nobody can sing that and mean it unless they've been a wretch. So these people are passionate, and they're in their 50s and 60s. They've run their own churches. I'm studying with these guys, and I'm backing away from them because they're teaching me stuff that they shouldn't be teaching me. And I'm thinking, and these are great men. And I'm thinking, great family men, strong men you don't want to mess with. And I'm thinking, here, this guy, this gentleman here, he's going to pot. I know it's just a job, and, you know, people have to be as friendly to him as they can in certain areas, but don't treat him like a piece of garbage. Don't talk to him with a mentality fit for Scooby-Doo. You know, he's a grown man. And I know that if you put him in the same, if he went home with me and we went home to my table and we talked the same kinds of things, the adult things, the mature things, the honorable things that we talk about this gentleman, his mentality would change. And he would not be being condescended to but a bunch of Meijer freaks. So, that saying that Napoleon had, men are what you want them to be. The Bible says, hate that which is evil and love that which is good. Cleave to that which is good, respectively. You start hating what is evil, and so much more can you love that which is good. I believe it's written respectively to do it like that. The more I do that, the more I love. The more freedom and the more room I have to love. I would like to protect some gentlemen like that. I wish I had the chance. Maybe I am. Maybe I do. But anyway, that probably concludes this video. Because like I said, I will overwhelm you. Shabbat Shalom. It's the Sabbath. It's coming up Friday. Just a couple hours, and praise Elohim.